What's up gamers, and welcome back to another video. Last time I reviewed my pure Zoodiac deck. If you haven't already watched that, I would highly recommend doing so. So I'll leave a link to it at the bottom left side of the screen here. I actually got a video request on the video asking me to go more in depth about the deck, the different combos and how you want to play it. So that is what I will be showing you today. So a massive shout out to this guy for coming up with this idea. Before I get into the video, I would like to point out that I have made some minor changes to my deck since uploading the review video. I removed my 2 mystical space typhoons and instead I added an extra Nibiru the Primal Being as well as an extra Skullmeister, so I now have 3 of each. You can definitely still go with the original version of the deck that I showed you in my earlier video and you will still have a great time and you will still be able to climb rank, but I have made these changes and I actually feel like they are a nice addition compared to the 2 mystical space typhoons, so definitely worth trying out as well if you have enough materials for crafting the extra cards. So since a lot of meta decks revolves around combo spamming and special summonings, your opponent's board can get out of control pretty quickly. Therefore, there are a few cards that you want to be utilizing to make sure to counter these summonings as well as hopefully keep board control. So first up we have Max C. By discarding this card to the graveyard, you're allowed to have a free draw whenever your opponent special summons a monster that turn when you use the card. So this is a super good way to make up for a bad starting hand or just make sure that you utilize your opponent combo spam by getting a lot of cards drawn. It's kind of dangerous to play against yourself because just like you can get your hands on your most wanted cards that you want to be using for your combos, the same goes for your opponent. So I highly recommend being cautious whenever your opponent play this card. If they do, try not to overextend your combos and see if you can limit yourself in any way possible just to make sure that you don't give them the upper hand by playing this card. Next up we have Forbidden Droplet. And I think I mentioned this in my earlier videos as well, but this is definitely my favorite card out of the entire deck. It's just so good. Once you activate it, you can send any number of other cards from your own hand or your own field to the graveyard and then select an equal amount of monsters on the opponent's field, half their attack and also negate their effects. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, a lot of meta decks focuses around spam summonings, all their special summons, and a lot of these special summon cards also happen to have a lot of card effects, such as being able to negate effects or being able to deny an extra summon from your own hand or something similar to that. So if you're trying to get rid of everything on the board, say with your Zeus Sky Striker, this guy down here, what he does I will get into later in the video, don't worry. Forbidden Droplet is just a super good way to make sure that the cards on the field at least will not be able to counter however you're trying to clear the enemy's board. And by combining this with Max C, depending on how many cards you manage to draw by drawing an extra card whenever they special summon a monster themselves, your opponent that is, you're almost guaranteed to grabbing a Forbidden Droplet. If not, you will still have a lot of other possibilities with the rest of the cards that I'll be showing in the video. Finally, but definitely not least, we have Nibiru the Primal Being. This card is super strong and it's really easy to use. During the opponent's main phase, if they manage to normal summon or special summon more than 5 monsters their turn, you can activate the effect of Nibiru, which allows you to sacrifice as many cards on the opponent's field as possible, and it lets you summon this guy with 3k attack. However, it will require you to summon a Primal Being token on the opponent's field, and that Primal Being token will have the total amount of attack power and defense power of the monsters that you tributed from the opponent's field to summon this card. So that means some of these Nibiru summonings can end up giving your opponent a card with like 8,000 attack points or defense points or something similar to that. But don't worry, once you summon the Primal Being token on their board, you can summon it in defense position, but I would highly recommend making sure that you have a card that can destroy the Primal Being token afterwards. That could be the Zoodiac Trident, It could be the Raigeki, it could even be the card effect of your Sky Thunder that I will get into later in the video. Just because having another card on the field with AK attack power, for an example, that's quite a big deal, you know. I have found these three cards to be my primary counters for the tougher opponents. There will definitely be some games where you don't manage to play your cards, either because they counter you or you just don't have the luck in terms of drawing them. But that's where combos from the extra deck comes into play, so let's have a look at the different combos and how you should be playing them. So if you're going first, I will always recommend trying to land the Utopic Draco Future summon, which is this guy right here. However, summoning him can be quite tricky. It requires for you to have both Zoodiac Thoroughblade and Zoodiac Ram on your hand, so in this case I got really lucky. The reason why he's tricky to summon is because you need 2 Sys cards on the field from your extra deck to tribute in able to summon him. And you can only normal summon once per game, so you have to work around Zoodiac Rams and Zoodiac Thoroughblades card effects to make sure that you can actually land the summon. So first off, let's put down the Zoodiac Thoroughblade and activate his card effect. By discarding 1 card, throw it to the graveyard, I'm allowed to draw another card. We're not too worried about the card that we're drawing, because what we are focusing on is Ram here in the graveyard. Next up, we will summon the Zoodiac Jackanine. And all of these Zoodiac cards from your extra deck has a card effect. And you activate it by detaching one of the materials that are attached to your current card. So by doing so, we will detach Zoodiac Thoroughblade, but the Jackanine allows us to resurrect the Ram, which we just discarded a minute ago. Let's put her in face-up position here. And now we want to go into the Trident, because we want to be using her card effect as well. So in case you can't summon the Utopic Draco Future because you just don't have the starting hand, you can just stop here at the Trident. Her effect is super good. Again, detach 1 material that you currently have equipped to the card, and then you can use the effect, and the Trident's effect is to destroy this card or whatever card. It can also be another card from the opponent's field, but in this case we will destroy the Zoodiac Ram. It has to be face up, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that before. But by throwing Zoodiac Ram into the graveyard, we can activate her card effect. So remember, now we destroyed it basically in battle. Before we just discarded it, which is why the effect didn't work, but now we can actually use it because we used the Trident to destroy the Ram. So now we are able to resurrect the Zoodiac Jackanine, and from here on out it's just super simple. Now we have 2 Sys monsters for tribute. So first we pop down the Utopic Future. And then we just use that as a tribute for the Utopic Draco Future. The Utopic Draco Future is a super good first move play. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and once per turn, when the opponent activates a monster effect, we can activate the quick effect, which is detaching 1 material from this card. This could be any of these 3, and then negate that set attack. So again, a super good first move, if possible. If you're going second, your main focus will be on summoning the Divine Arsenal AA-ZEUS Sky Thunder. This guy is definitely the bread and butter of the deck, at least it is for me. I find winning most of my games when I have this guy on the board, and that's simply because of his quick effect. By detaching 2 materials from this card, we can send all other cards from the field to the graveyard. So that means all of his monster cards, also in the special zone here, all of his spell and trap cards, and whatever special card he has summoned out here. However, it also means removing your cards from the field except for the Sky Thunder, so keep that in mind. This guy is way easier to summon than the Draco Future monster is, because you really only need a single Zoodiac main card. In this case I have the Zoodiac Whiptail, but I got the Fire Formation 10 key here. So let's say I didn't have my Whiptail, I could have instead used the Fire Formation 10 key, activate that effect, which essentially just allows me to pull out whatever Zoodiac card from my main deck. So let's go with the Thorough Blade in this case, because by summoning him, as I showed you a minute ago with the Draco summoning, by activating his effect, we can discard one of our other Zoodiac monsters, throw it in the graveyard, and then just get a free card. So you really don't have to do this for summoning the Sky Thunder. It's just a really nice combo for getting an extra card on your hand. Anyways, here's how you want to do it. You always go into Borbo right away. And it's simply because of his effect. So what we'll be doing now is actually go straight into battle phase. And then we will start an attack. And because Borbo can attack directly, you don't really have to worry about what your opponent has on his side of the board, because again, you can just attack directly. The condition for summoning Sky Thunder, at least the easiest way for summoning him, is if one of your Sys monsters already battled this turn. So here you see why this card is so easy to summon. Put down a Zoodiac card for your main deck, give him the Borbo upgrade, attack him directly, and now we're actually set for summoning the Sky Thunder. We'll end the battle turn, go straight into main phase 2, and now we will actually start building up Sys materials on this guy, just to make sure that we have 6 cards attached to Sky Thunder once we summon him. Because again, it requires to detach 2 materials to remove all of the cards on the field. So by following this, you can actually use his quick effect for 3 turns in a row, or 3 times in a single turn if you find yourself in a situation where that's necessary. Let's just get straight into it. It doesn't really matter in what order you do these summonings. All we just want to make sure is that we get as many Zoodiac monsters from the extra deck on our main board here. Here we have Jackanine, which is the last, and now we can summon the Sky Thunder. Just like that. Let's go ahead and use his effect. And again, detach 2 materials. Doesn't really matter which materials you detach, unless you have an idea of resurrecting them with Monster Reborn or getting them back from the graveyard in another way. Just detach 2 of these cards. There we have it. Remove all other cards from the field. So it's a super easy summon, but I always recommend getting these 6 materials on this guy, just so you can use the quick effect 3 times. So those were the 2 main combos that you want to be focusing on. Those are the ones you're going to be using the most, but there are some other that can be viable and necessary to play in other situations where you just can't land the Draco summon or the Sky Thunder summon. So one of them could be summoning a Zoodiac Ram or a Thorough Blade or whatever other card we have, and still have a Whiptail in our hand. So in this case, let's go ahead and upgrade the Ram to a Bobo. And now we can actually activate this Zoodiac Whiptail effect, which transfers his attack power and defense power for a Bobo. We gains those stats. So if you have a Thorough Blade with 1600 attack power and you pop a Whiptail or 2 Whiptails or even 3 Whiptails, well, all of a sudden you're raking up a lot of attack power on that one monster. So it's a good way to get a card on the field that has a lot of firepower, but keep in mind they won't really have a way of protecting themselves, as they're not the Draco that can negate an attack, or the Sky Thunder that can just level the entire field with its quick effect. Another summon that you can go for some more firepower is the Drill Driver Vespinato. This guy right here. You only need to attach 1 Sys monster on top of your Zoodiac monster. And just like that, you have a 2.5k attack power monster as well. Again, not really the best defense, but it does have its wonders. For an example, its card effect, which we get to see right here. Once it's thrown into the graveyard, we can pick out another Zoodiac card from the graveyard and summon it on the field again. Now that we have our Zoodiac Whiptail in the graveyard, let's go ahead and try and summon a Hammer Kong. Just as an example, you can really use any card as filler. And put our Tiger Motor on top of the Hammer Kong. Then we can activate her effect by detaching another material. Let's go with the Hammer Kong here. And now we can select a monster on the field that is a Zoodiac ZEUS monster, like the Tiger Mortar or Trident or Borbo. And then we can actually take one of the Zoodiac cards that we have, either from the extra deck, or the main deck in the graveyard, and attach that as a material to our card right here. So once again, if you have a Thoroughblade on the field and you pop a Borbo or something on them and then a Tiger Mortar, then you can take another Zoodiac Thoroughblade from the graveyard and pop on top of him, and again you have a card that is raking up attack power but doesn't really serve any defensive mechanisms at all. The rest of the cards in the deck are kinda self-explanatory, so I won't use that much time on explaining them. Some of the hard-hitting ones are definitely the Raigeki, destroy all the monsters they control, the Harpy's Feather Duster, destroy all spell and trap cards they control. You could also go with Lightning Storm. If you don't control a face-up card on the field, you can either destroy all attack position monsters or all spell and trap cards that the opponent controls. So use them whenever you deem it necessary. The same goes with the Cosmic Cyclones, the Pot of Desire, the Monster Reborn. It's kind of self-explanatory. What you want to be focusing on the most is just being able to put Draco Future on the field or Sky Thunder on the field, depending on how the game turns out. Anyways guys, that is all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed watching this. I at least enjoyed making it a lot. If you're still interested in some gameplay videos or want to know more about how this deck works and how you should play it in different situations, feel free to have a look at my channel. I have a few videos uploaded already where I get in some pretty tense situations and manage to come out on top. So there might be some combos or some plays that I didn't get to showcase you here today. So please keep that in mind. Also, please keep in mind that I cannot be considered a professional player at all. This is my first time playing ranked in any Yu-Gi-Oh game. However, as I said in my earlier video, I managed to get to Plat 5 with this almost exact deck with a win rate of almost 70%. So it's super easy to get into, super friendly for new players. I hope I showed you that today and that you feel inspired to try this deck out. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope this helped in any possible way at all. And with that being said, until next time.